All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got an amazingly big NBA slate today. We don't have the normal graphics or the normal studio or the normal mic or anything like that, but we are making do with what we got. I can't even count that high. We have so many NBA games today, so we're going to jump into each and every game. I'll give you my lean, give you what I'm thinking, but as always, my final plays will be in the pinned comment. And also, guys, if you do want to hit that like button, go ahead and do that now. It would be much appreciated. We're trying to get this audience bigger and better and grow this community as we head towards the new year and that holiday season and everything like that. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button also if you have not yet. And before we get into the games, I do want to talk about today's sponsor, which is my book. You guys make sure you use that link in the description and promo code GBS to save. Guys, they'll percent match. You get a percent match on your first deposit over there. It's an easy sports book to navigate, and they have a lot of different lines and different odds and different plays than other sports books out there. So you guys know I'm always encouraging odd shopping and everything like that. So make sure you use that link in the description and promo code GBS. But yeah, we're gonna try and make this like a not half-hour video with how many games we have to get into. So let's jump right into it. We're starting it off with the Hornets hosting the Timberwolves here. If my lines that I'm looking at on the computer that are updated are a little bit different than the graphic we have here, apologies there, but they're gonna be pretty close. But this graphic was taken while we were setting up, and if anything changed in the interim, we're gonna have a couple half-point discrepancies and whatnot. But let's jump into it. We got the Hornets 5-point favorites or 5-point underdogs here at home. Hornets 5-14. This year straight up. 8-10 against the spread. Minnesota 10-8. They're definitely starting to turn it around. They started off as a terribly efficient team. Now they're one of the better efficiency teams in the NBA. They are 7-11 against the spread here. These two teams have not played this season, but last time they did, Minnesota won a close one at the end of last year. In their last 10 games, though, they're playing some decent basketball. 3-2 in their last 5 on the road against the spread in Charlotte. I like them. They cover for us when they have big numbers, but 5 isn't that big of a number. They're only 1-4 in the last 5 at home against the spread, so I'm going to lean Minnesota in this one. Keep an eye on the injury report. Kyle Anderson's questionable. Then for Charlotte, Gordon Hayward's questionable. Cody Martin out, and Dennis Smith Jr. also questionable here. So keep an eye on that injury report. That's going to impact your judgment here, but I think Minnesota coming off of 5 straight wins. They obviously get the rest, and then Charlotte's just hasn't really been that great in their last 10 games here. I think Minnesota is the better team. Keep an eye on the pin comment to see if that ends up ultimately becoming a final play here. We're moving on to the Hornets, I'm all over the place here. The Magic taking on the 76ers. Magic 2.5-point favorites. And immediately when I saw that, I said, okay, let me go to the injury report. Joel Embiid out. Matisse Thybulle out. Tyrese Maxey still out. And obviously James Harden has been out for a while here. But even on Orlando side of things, a bunch of injuries to note. Cole Anthony downgraded to out. Chuma Okeke is questionable. Paolo Banchero upgraded to probable. So that is a huge plus for them. But Wendell Carter Jr. questionable here. Mo Wagner upgraded to probable. And no other new injuries there. This line is still a little interesting to me. Philly, they beat Brooklyn when they were underhanded there, and they didn't have the guys they needed. So I think I might lean Philly in this one, plus the 2.5 points on the road. I just don't think that the Magic are that great. Now, I don't think I'm going to touch this game personally with a 10-foot pole, but I will say that I do lean Philly in this one. The total's 213.5 as well. I might bite at the bait there and go for the over. I don't know if that's the move. I don't think that's the move, but it just seems super, super low for an Orlando team that can let up 120 points to any bad team. Houston scored 134 against Orlando, I believe. So, it's not like because Philly's going to be missing their scorers and the good players that they won't be able to score 110 plus points. I think they will be able to because this Orlando defense just doesn't seem to have it. Right, next up we have the Knicks taking on the Trailblazers here. Knicks 4.5-point favorites at home. This Trailblazers team started off hot, right? They're still 12-6 against the spread. The Knicks here 8-9-1 against the spread. They're 4.5-point favorites here. I don't think that this Knicks team is exceptional, but I do think a Damian Lillard-less team like the Trailblazers probably struggles against a Knicks team that loves to control the pace here. So you look at the Trailblazers, no Damian Lillard, no Gary Payton. I'm going to lean the Knicks in this one. In terms of injuries for the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson is questionable, Cam Reddish questionable, Derrick Rose is questionable, but they're coming off a decent win to OKC. OKC blew their doors in the last time they played, and then the Knicks came to play and said, you know what, we're not losing to this team twice, we're going to beat them. So I like that sort of revenge spot for them there. Portland coming off of 4 straight losses. So I'm liking this Knicks team, like I said, fired up after that revenge game, and now they're kind of getting their momentum going, and I don't think there's anyone really on the Trailblazers that's going to be able to completely stop Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle there. I think that they have a good couple of matchups there. So I'm going to lean Knicks here, minus the 4.5. All right, New Orleans taking on Memphis here. New Orleans 2.5 point favorites at home, total 229. New Orleans 10-8 this season, 6-11-1 though against the spread. The Pelicans putting together a decent year, 11-7 straight up, 10-8 against the spread. In terms of injuries, Ja Morant has been beaten and bruised, but he did come back, and he's playing here. John Conchar is questionable here. Danny Green out. And then for New Orleans, you have CJ McCollum downgraded to out, which would be a huge loss for them. So I'm going to lean Memphis here, minus the 2.5 points. I don't think that that's too much to ask for. When these two teams played last time out, it was mid-November there, and the Pelicans took the win. So I do think that Memphis comes out of that and says, hey, you beat us last time. Let's split this little two-game series that we've had in the last month. So I'm going to lean Memphis here, minus the 2.5 points. Guys, before we get going, I'm asking you guys, if you do want to get exclusive access to some of the models that we put out and everything like that, make sure to become a baller. It's also just the #1 way to support the channel. So if you're still watching right now, make sure you're hitting that like button, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, but then also click that join button. $2.99 a month, guys. It's a great way to support the channel. I cannot thank all the ballers that we've gained. We know that we have the models for both spread, we have it for total, and then player points are hitting at over 50% this season. Our spread models at like 66% on the daily. So I cannot, thank you guys enough for the monetary support from you guys, but I hope you do appreciate that, we're doing our best to give you guys that value in return with those models. So guys, consider becoming a baller today. You get an updated model every single day. All right, the Cleveland Cavs traveling to Milwaukee. Milwaukee 4-point favorites to 17.5 is the total. Now, I thought that there was going to be some huge injury to note when looking at this line. I know the Cavs are good, but I don't think that they are a 4-point type of compete with this Bucks type good. And I was like, okay, so Giannis is questionable, or Drew Holiday's ruled out again. Drew Holiday's actually upgraded to probable here, and Cleveland has Kevin Love out, Karis LeVert out. Not that those matter all that much, but it is worth noting that, Milwaukee looks like they're going to be relatively healthy. Obviously, no Chris Middleton still, but in terms of new injuries, looks like they're going to be relatively healthy. Now, they haven't played that great of basketball. They've gone win, loss in their last 5 games. Like, they're not looking all that great. And Cleveland, on the other hand, looks pretty good. 4 wins in a row here, and they've covered 3 out of their last 4 games. They're 3-0-1. They didn't even lose that one that they didn't cover. It was a push. So I understand why this line is here, but I do think you get a rested Milwaukee team. 4 points isn't all that much to ask for, so I'm going to lean Milwaukee in this one, even though I love this Cavs team this season. Total's 217.5. I would lean over, but both these teams can play defense on any given night, right? They could score a bunch of points for sure, but they can also play defense. So I'm going to stick away from the total in this one, but I definitely wouldn't go under because I know that these two teams can drop 120 if they want to. Rockets 7.5-point dogs at home. You're taking on the Hawks. The Hawks 8-11 this season, 8-9-1 against the spread here. In their last 10 games, they're 6-4, and they're on the road. They're 1-2 against the spread, which you don't love to see. But then I look over to the Houston side of things, and I say, okay, well, the Atlanta Pigeons, as we like to call them, on the road. Houston's only 1-3 at home in their last 4 games against the spread. So I'm thinking, okay, there's nothing that's telling me Houston is going to keep up with this Hawks team. There's no injuries or anything like that. And in fact, Houston's dealing with some injuries here. Jalen Green, Jae'Sean Tate, Bruno Fernando, and then Sengun, all questionable for this game. So I'm going to lean Atlanta. I know it's a big number, but they did just play a decent game against the Kings here where they covered. And the Kings are a good team, so I'm definitely going to lean Atlanta in this one, minus 7.5. Total 232.5. I like the under in this one. I think that's a pretty high number. And not that I'm going to give credit to any of these defenses, but I do think that this game could be a Houston game where they only score like 105 points, meaning, Atlanta's got to go out there and score the rest of that 125, which they can definitely do, but they have not hit that 125 mark in their last 10 games. So I do think that this is a good spot for the under. Moving it along here, almost done. We are cruising through these games. Make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment, guys, for all the final plays. We're just trying to get this out so it's not a million minutes long. But we got the Thunder here. 1.5-point dogs at home against the Bulls. 235.5 is the total here. This Thunder team has been playing decent. We call them the Rumbling Covering Thunder, but they haven't covered 3 straight here. They didn't cover against Memphis, they didn't cover against New York, and didn't cover against Denver. So they're starting to trend in the wrong direction. Chicago, on the other hand, now I know injuries play a factor in both these games, but they beat Boston outright as an underdog, and then they beat Milwaukee outright as an underdog. So Chicago might be feeling themselves, and I don't think that a point and a half is too much to ask for. So I might be biased towards the OKC Rumble and Cover and Thunder, but they have not been that Rumble and Cover and Thunder team as of late. So I am going to lean here with the Bulls minus the point and a half. The total's 235. I look at that and I say, okay, if OKC's not going to play well, then I do like the under. If I'm wrong about the spread, though, then this game probably ends up going over if OKC keeps this game close and pushes the pace and everything like that. So I'm going to lean the under here, but slightly, and I doubt it becomes a final play. All right, the Celtics, two of my favorite teams in the league right now. Obviously, the Celtics my favorite team. I'm a Boston Celtics fan, but the Kings, the covering Kings, man, looking real good here. They are 7.5-point dogs, however, to the Boston Celtics. No injuries to report on either side of it, and I'm looking at this thinking, you know I don't bet against the Celtics, and if you are new, I don't bet against the Celtics. But I'll tell you one thing, this is not a game where I say I'm taking and laying the Celtics. At 7.5 points is a lot to ask for a Kings team that can keep up with, I believe, anyone in this league. This King, what was it? They scored like 130 plus points or something like that, like in a row just recently. Yeah, look at this run. I have it up in front of me. Starting November 15th against Brooklyn, 153 points. Then against San Antonio, 2 nights later, 130 points. Then against Detroit, 3 nights later, 137. Like, this team is going to be able to keep up with any team. They can score. You know, we got the Channel Hall of Famer there, Kevin Huerter, on that team, so I'm definitely not leaning Boston. I'm not going to tell you guys if I'm leaning Kings, but I just don't like 7.5 points at all. And that total seems like it's a pretty good line too. 237.5 is what I have as the updated line here. I can see both these teams being able to drop 120 on each other, so I'm gonna lean away from this game because I don't want to bet on against the Celtics. All right, we got the Heat taking on the Wizards here, guys. By the way, I'm fully self-aware if you're gonna roast me for not, giving a pick in that game because I'm a Celtics fan. I tell you guys I'm biased on the Celtics plenty. Miami Heat here, -3 at home against the Washington Wizards. I feel like these teams have played each other a million times this season here. The total is 212, which seems super low, but makes a whole lot of sense based on these two teams' track records here. But they have played each other twice this season. Miami lost the first one by 1. That was just a few nights back, and then 5 nights after that, Miami ends up getting that revenge spot game. They won 113 to 108. Bradley Beal is questionable. Monte Morris is questionable. Rui Hachimura is questionable. And then for Miami, their injury report, their list goes on and on. No Jimmy Butler. Dwayne Dedmon's questionable. Bam Adebayo questionable. Duncan Robinson downgraded to doubtful. Tyler Hero is now questionable. Gabe Vincent questionable. Max Strus downgraded to doubtful. That's a decent amount of points. I know it doesn't sound like it, but that's a decent amount of points to give a team that you've already had 2 close games with. So obviously Bradley Beal is probably going to be what my lean is going to lean on in terms of if it's going to be a final play or not. But I'm going to lean the Wizards plus the points here. I don't like betting this Wizards team, but this Miami team is nothing special. So I'm going to lean the Wizards here plus the 3 points with the contingency that Bradley Beal plays. All right, only a few games left on the slate, guys. I know we went through this fast, but guys, make sure you drop in the comments who you think is going to, what the log is tonight. You can use hashtag ride of the day as well. I'll be jumping on board with one person in the comments here, but make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of my final plays. There's a lot going on. Holiday time, family around, we're traveling. Who knows how many final plays we'll have, but there's so many NBA games on today, so keep an eye on that pinned comment. We're going over to Phoenix here. The Suns, 12.5-point favorites against the Pistons. Totals 226.5. Pretty easy one here. I don't love laying double-digit spreads, but this Pistons team is nothing to be proud of if you are a Pistons fan here. Yes, they're coming off of 2 straight wins. 2 decent teams, Denver and Utah, will give you that. But do you really think that they beat 3 decent teams in a row? Do you think that this Pistons team shocks the world 3 times in a row? I don't think so. So this is a spot for them to absolutely have a setback here. So I'm going to lean. They also have a bunch of injuries. Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Hamidou Diallo, Saddiq Bey, all looks like they're either questionable or out here. So I'm going to lean Phoenix. I'm going to lay those points. I don't love it whatsoever, but that is the way that we're going here. And then we're taking it over to the Golden State to play the Jazz. Jazz getting 7 points against this Golden State team. The Jazz coming off 2 straight losses, still having a pretty decent season. Mike Conley downgraded to out in this one. In terms of injuries for Golden State, no new injuries, but you really never know with this team. So keep an eye on that injury report there. But Golden State looking like themselves. They've won 3 out of the last 4 games here. They covered their last game against the Clippers. They were 10-point favorites, and they won by 13 points. So Golden State is looking pretty good. I do think 7 points is too much to give. So either way, if I were to put this play into a final play, it's probably going to be a teaser. Either I'm going to get like 12 points on the Jazz side of things or Golden State -2. So I think Golden State ultimately wins this game, but I think that this line is pretty tough to actually end up rolling with as a single play. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we put any sort of teaser or anything together with it. But that's just me being honest, guys. I don't love a side in this one unless that line is completely different, which we can obviously do in a teaser. All right, in the last game of the night, we have the Clippers hosting the Nuggets here. Clippers getting 3.5 points at home, total 220 in this one. Long injury report for Denver. Let me go through it here. Jeff Green out. Ish Smith questionable. Jokic upgraded to probable. Jamal Murray upgraded to probable. Michael Porter Jr. now questionable. Bones Highland downgraded to out. And then for the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard out. If Jokic plays, I'm leaning Denver in this one. Similar injury report when they played OKC and they dropped 131 on OKC. So I'm going to lean Denver in this one here, -3.5 with the assumption that those guys play. And guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hopefully you guys don't mind the quality or the sound or anything like that. We're making do with what we got. 90% of our videos are usually, at the office there with the camera, the mic, the soundboard, and everything like that. We just don't have that right now. We're traveling in this ridiculously nice Airbnb. So don't get me wrong, the place is great, not the best recording situation. But hopefully you guys do enjoy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, consider becoming a baller as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.